Welcome to the Fierce Goddess Collective. From our hearts to yours, we share the gifts of beautiful goddesses to the world.
Welcome to our glorious Fierce Goddess Collective conversation with the beautiful Amanda and I. And today we are going to have a really juicy conversation about radical self-acceptance, what that looks like, how that is in our lives, especially when we've got difficult things that we have to confront with, our worries, our thoughts. So we thought this would be a really juicy topic to have a little convo about today.
It's a big one. It's a big one. Self-acceptance. I mean, it's amazing. Sometimes people think it's one thing, but it's actually another. So did you want to start off with this beautiful prayer that you have for 2022 that you wrote?
Sure. So beginning of this year, I wrote a beautiful goddess prayer to remind me of how to be for this following year of 2022. And it's part of all the Joyful Goddess programs to actually bring ourselves into our own presence. So I think this prayer really reflects acceptance. So let me start. The Goddess Welcome for 2022. May I bless this glorious year. May I be open to all of its blessings and learnings. May I let love guide my way, even when I feel uncertain and insecure in these changing times. May I stand in the truth of my soul and be my authentic voice. May I meet all things with kindness and compassion, including myself. May I never abandon my inner goddess, my inner light. And may I find courage to let go of the old stories, the old ways that have robbed my energy and light. I bless this day and all of the days of 2022. Let my goddess light shine strong. So it is, and it is so.
Beautiful. Just beautiful. That's a lot about self-acceptance right there, isn't it?
It is. It's like being open to the learnings and the blessings, because we have both in life, don't we?
Absolutely. And we were just talking about it before, that a lot of people, when they have a setback, they give up. Whereas if you turn that around, which is a big thing for me, I had to really take a hard look at myself when it came to that, because if I ever wanted to start something and I had a fear of failure, I wouldn't start. Yeah. And then if I did start something and I had a bit of a setback, then I just gave up. And you were talking before too about how, that takes you down a whole other road when it comes to, not feeling good enough and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, it's instead of thinking it's a major setback and giving up, it's a learning opportunity.
Yeah, a learning opportunity. And if we look at a bigger level as a human being or a spirit living in this human existence, it's serving our evolution. Like it's serving our, for the want of a better word, our awakening. So that's where we find the diamonds. That's where we find the essence of our spirit and our soul. Like how we come back from hardship and rejection and hard things and things that don't go our way and things that are unexpected. And I
think a lot of the successful people in this world that we know of have probably had a lot of setbacks. I think that's it. Yeah, to me, that's a really big one. For me, it was always a big one. Big one.
Yeah. Absolutely. I think those setbacks are part of life, aren't they? And they can be.
And how do you learn if you don't fail?
Exactly. Exactly. And it's accepting that. And it's this essence of going, okay, this hasn't worked out, or this isn't going to plan. How else can I do this differently? What else is this telling me? How else can I accept myself with kindness and compassion?
Yeah.
Because it's so easy to judge ourselves, blame ourselves, give ourselves a absolute flogging You know, I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm not worthy. This was a stupid idea. Why did I even think that? All that self-judgment comes to the forefront.
Well, it does, doesn't it? And I mean, it's the same old, same old. It's that negative little voice inside your head that just wants to just drag you back down. Doesn't want to build you up. Wants to drag you back down. And well, I think we've all got it. We've all experienced it. But yeah, once you kind of learn, and it is a learning, because you've got to learn to change that voice, to change the way that you think, the way that you respond when things don't actually work out. And then it's just, I think the word is freeing.
Yeah.
Myself, I think it's freeing.
Yeah, freedom.
It's a big one.
Liberation, you know, it gives ourselves permission, doesn't it? To do something different, to accept what is, even though we can't change the events, you know, the things that have happened, but we can definitely see how we respond and change that.
Because really, isn't it? Yeah, it's that old saying, isn't it? Nothing changes if nothing changes.
That's it.
Yeah. It's a pretty big one.
It is. And I know with self-judgment, those thoughts pass. All thoughts pass. And eventually those thoughts will diminish. Yeah. And I can't exactly remember the statistical information, but we've got so many thoughts, hundreds and hundreds of thoughts, but something like 70 to 80% are the repetitive thoughts of the same information, the same inner dialogue, that there's actually not a new thought, it's that old recording of ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely. And it makes it so hard for people to self-accept for what they are and how they act and what they do. And it's a big one. It's a very, very big one. Do you think that a lot of it comes with, I don't know, this thought just came into my head, being honest with yourself?
Yeah.
Do you think that's part of it? I mean, you've got to be honest with yourself. If you've stuffed up, you've got to be honest with yourself and go, hey, we've stuffed up. So let's just accept it and move on.
Absolutely. Without giving ourselves a bad time, a hard time.
Because I think a lot of people will cover up as well. Try and cover up if they've made a boo-boo.
Yeah. Because you feel vulnerable, don't you? You feel like a little bit raw. You feel uneasy. Yeah.
It's a big one.
It is. And sometimes the opposite feelings, the anger, the irritation, the rage. Why did that happen to me? Yeah. Why did it happen to them?
Yeah, I mean, it opens up a whole can of worms. I mean, I've worked with a lot of people in my lifetime, and I always said that when I worked in an office or a corporation or whatever, the best thing to do if you make a mistake is to own up to it, and then we try and fix it. You know, that's what I always said. And I did come across one person in my working life. There was no way this person would ever admit, well, even when it was there in black and white, that they had made a mistake. I mean, everybody makes mistakes, but you wonder where that comes from. Like, what has that person experienced to the point where the evidence is either right there in front of you in black and white, either right there in front of you on CCTV that they've actually done something that's a bit against security. What's happened to them, and where is their self-acceptance to think of that they would just fight it?
Yeah, I do. I wonder whether or not that shame and guilt has a voice here. Do you know what I mean? So rather not accept it or deflect it or blame somebody or deny it because of that factor of shame and guilt and all those heavy feelings, you know?
Yeah, it's just, it's mind-boggling when you start to try and figure out. I mean, you know, everybody sort of, there's that first thing of, oh my gosh, what is wrong with you? But then if you sit back and think, wow, why are you like that? you know, and try
Mm.
and help that person. I mean, some people will take the help, but some people won't.
Mm.
But yeah, that was a big one for me. Just kind of, I've never ever come across someone who just blatantly went, no, and no,
Yeah.
it was me. No.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was a big learning, that one.
Yeah. That is a big learning. Big learning about human beings.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
I reckon also radical self-acceptance is not about being complacent either.
No.
You know, oh, that's okay if that happens to me. That's okay. It's actually not giving away our power. It's actually owning our power to go, I accept this. I don't like it. I don't have to like it, but I accept that it's happened.
That's a big one for people.
Oh, it's huge. It's
that
really,
I think that comes back to the other thing of being honest with yourself.
Yeah.
And being, I mean, honest. I was going to say something else then, but it's left me. I'm having a senior moment. But yeah, it's definitely a being honest with yourself thing, I think.
Yeah. And it's
Because
not,
I think, no, sorry, you go.
I was going to say, I also think that acceptance is not depressing or suppressing your feelings. You have every right to feel anger. You have every right to feel those emotions. And that this radical self-acceptance is not about denying or suppressing those feelings.
Yeah.
The opposite. Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. Absolutely. I think a lot of it comes down to trust as well.
Yeah, a biggie trust.
Trust in yourself and just trust in the process of being honest with yourself and then just picking yourself up and just going, yeah, look, I can do this. I trust myself enough to know that I'm honest with myself. I can admit that I've done something that's not quite right and I've made a boo-boo, or that project failed, or the way I went with that failed. But yeah, I trust myself enough and I care about myself enough to go, it's okay. All right. Everybody makes mistakes. Let's just take another way. Let's go another way.
Yeah. And I wonder also, radical self-acceptance, definitely freedom. But I also wonder if it's about self-compassion.
Oh, yeah, that's another one.
That self-compassion for ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's another one.
Yeah.
Like a lot of these words that we're using, these are the things that people struggle with.
Totally.
All the time.
Totally.
That negative talk just takes over.
Yeah.
Self-compassion is a big one.
Yeah. And that is, let's be honest, that's a journey. That's not just one day I'm this and next day I'm compassionate. That's a journey. And that's okay to actually take that space to journey with yourself. And I love what you said. You said trust. I think all of this is trusting yourself.
Yeah. It takes a lot to trust yourself. A lot of people probably think, oh, what are you talking about? We all trust ourselves. Well, no, you actually don't. Because a lot of us rely on other people to make decisions for us.
True.
We don't trust our gut instinct. In other words, we don't trust the way that we're feeling. We're not listening to our, there's that word, intuition. But yeah, that trust is a big, big thing. The big thing. You know?
Absolutely. Yeah. We deny ourselves, don't we, that trust, or we suppress it or push it down. And I think many of us are so used to giving away our power, as in having an authority, whether, to a parent, to, someone we look up to, our own conditioning, our own entrainment, to think that someone else we need to seek someone else's approval or power before we seek our own approval and power and acceptance.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. I think a lot of people make decisions in their lives because of what they've heard in the media or they've been brought up to believe. And then, another way that they look at it is perhaps maybe if that does go wrong, that decision they've made, they'll blame someone else.
True.
Because they don't trust themselves enough to make the decision for themselves. But then on the other hand, if it fails, then they're not honest enough with themselves to admit it and accept it's something that it's a self decision that they made. It's a it's a mistake. So they don't trust themselves enough. They're not honest enough. And they do give away their authority.
Mm.
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? It can go so deep on so many levels. And then you bring in so many other things. Like you talk about one subject, like we're talking about self-acceptance, but, then there's the trust, then there's the honesty, then there's the compassion, then there's, even narcissism for blaming someone else for a mistake that's happened to you. It's just there's so many things that are brought in. It's just
It is. Yeah.
It's not just black and white. There's so many elements.
That's right. And that's the story of life, isn't it? That's the story of, so many shades of grey and colour and red and blue and black and grey in life.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. It's different.
It is.
It just goes and goes and goes and goes. Because I'm thinking, when we first started our chats, I'm thinking, right, okay, we're going to talk about self-acceptance. Okay, right. So we're just going to stick to that subject and then off we go.
Yeah.
And I'm off and I'm talking about something else. I'm thinking, oh, God, am I taking people down the wrong path? But I think, no, it's all intertwined. It's all intertwined.
Yeah. So what's something you reckon you do that helps you with your self-acceptance?
My self-acceptance, well, particularly with mothering was a big thing for me.
Yeah.
I had to accept the fact that I could get things wrong. I wasn't perfect. And that if I did do something wrong, and this was a big lesson that was taught to me, if I did something wrong is a really strong word when it comes to mothering, because, we've never been taught how to do it. But if I did make a mistake, I would always apologise to my daughter, even if she was 10, whether she was 15 or whether she now is 20. Just because I'm the mum, I have to accept the fact that I've done something that either upsets her or leads her down the wrong path or is the wrong thing to say. And I have to be honest enough with myself to say, well, I'm sorry, Poppet. I've done the wrong thing. And that's a big learning to that self-acceptance that I'm not perfect. And, a lot of people grow up with the fact that their parents say, it's their way or the highway.
True.
That's a big thing. I grew up with that, but it doesn't work that way. And I've had to have self-acceptance around the fact that, I don't know everything. I'm not going to tell my daughter what to do because I don't know absolutely everything that she needs to know in her life, and she's on a learning journey as well. So, that was big self-acceptance for me, for sure. So what about you?
Yeah, I find I'm a little different. Like, definitely I agree, being that honest with yourself, knowing when you've stepped over the line and it doesn't feel good for you as a person or your relationship, that space of, saying, apologizing, like accepting that. Absolutely. I also find when I'm in that moment of judgment, self-criticism, to actually just take a breath, to actually just stop and pause and to breathe, to recalibrate myself, to go, okay.
Yeah.
Where am I? Let me just feel this breath. Let me just bring myself back into my heart, my love space, even look at beautiful nature for a moment, give myself a nice squeezy hug. I am here, so that my head doesn't continually have to lead, that my heart comes back, okay, now I'm ready to apologize. I'm ready to say what I need to say, offer love, do something. I agree. Yeah.
It's a big one. Because I think we're brought up, when we're mothers, and we're brought up to think that we're in charge. And that's all we're here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Completely in
Yeah.
charge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm. And let's be honest, we're going to get some of it wrong. We're going to get some of it one, amazingly right. Some of it is going to be ordinary.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's the journey, isn't it? That's the journey of motherhood. That's the journey.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Mm.
But
Yeah.
I have spoken to other mothers in the past, and they've actually, I've actually heard a mother say, doesn't matter if I'm right or wrong. That child will do what I tell them. And that's it. I was like, ooh. Well, yep, okay. But doesn't always work that way.
No.
Because I think that if you can admit that you're wrong, especially to your child who you've got such a deep connection with, it's going to deepen it even more. Because they know that you'll always be honest.
Absolutely. And we're teaching them, we're showing and demonstrating that even big people can get it wrong. Sometimes big people don't say nice things. Sometimes big people overreact and say stuff and do stuff. So I agree. And I think it's actually teaching them, or we're demonstrating how to be, emotionally intelligent, how to be honest, how to be vulnerable, to accept ourselves.
Yeah. Absolutely. It's a big one. It's a big, big one, especially if you bring that sort of side of it into it. Because children are so important, and you either can damage them or you can help them. Because it's such a fine line. Such a fine line. So yeah.
I
think that's perfect.
That was a big juicy conversation, wasn't it?
That was a bit. Oh yes, really got going then, didn't it?
We did.
Sure.
We went down the hole and we come back the other side.
I think that honesty with your children, that's a big one. We need to talk more about that.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a very good one. Yeah. Beautiful.
All right.
What a glorious conversation.
Yes. Goddesses.
Goddesses unite. May you be happy, may you be well, and may we always be loved.
Ditto.
Ditto.
Until next time.
Until next time. Bye.
See ya. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for listening to our Glorious Fierce Goddess Collective podcast. Remember to subscribe and share it with your family and friends. And from our heart to yours, please, goddesses, keep fierce.